WireGuard has quickly become one of the world's most popular VPN protocols, and that's for good reason. It's fast, lightweight, and pretty damn secure. And that's why today we'll be building our very own remote access VPN from scratch. Yes, when I say from scratch, I mean from scratch using our OPNsense appliance. That means that you'll be able to securely manage your network from anywhere in the world. And when I say anywhere, I mean anywhere that you have internet connection. So keep watching. Imagine being able to manage your home network from anywhere in the world through your cell phone. Yes, anywhere that you have a network connection, you can connect to your OPNsense. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's go ahead and click into the VPN menu option, then WireGuard, then Instances. From there, you'll see an Enable WireGuard checkbox. Let's go ahead and check that off. From there, you'll be able to click the Apply button to make sure to save. Then, once you click on that little plus sign all the way up to the right, you'll be able to edit an instance. From here, you can name it Home VPN, and then we can go ahead and get started on the rest of our setup. There are a few menu options that we do have to fill in. So we are using a WireGuard port, and it is 5182. It's a UDP port. It's the main language used by WireGuard, and that's the one that we'll be using for this video. And now that we have our listening port set and ready to go, what we'll do next is set up our private tunnel network address. Here, we'll set up an IP address using a private IP address of 10.0.0.1/24. Now we have our tunnel address set up. We would like to set up the peer section, but we don't have that set up yet, so we can't really select anything from that drop-down menu. What we'll do next is generate both the public and private keys, and that's something that we'll need later on as well. I just generate these, and we can go ahead and save this section of the instance. We'll be using all three windows. Will be going back and forth between the instance, the peers, and the WireGuard app on your iPhone. Another important note to kind of think of is that the server's public and private key will be used differently. The private key will never leave the firewall, so it just stays there, while the public key will be using that later. It's shared with the VPN client, and the VPN client in this occasion is your iPhone. We'll be entering that key within our iPhone WireGuard VPN app. Now having that saved, let's go ahead and make sure we click on the apply button down below. We don't want to lose any of the progress we already made. Then once we do that, we can go ahead and click into the peers tab above, then create our very first client. You can name it iPhone, or you can name it whatever you like. From there, we can go ahead and generate the pre-shared key. The public key will be obtained from our WireGuard VPN client. Once we have that set up, we can go ahead and enter that key from the app into this peer setup that we have here. Do next is make sure we add the allowed IP section. From here, we'll make sure to add it to the same subnet as we did our instance. So it'll be a 10.0.0.2/32. It's a smaller scope, but we want to make sure that it's within the same subnet. Now that we have our allowed IP section set up, we can go ahead and move to the rest of the menu options. So we have both our endpoint address and endpoint port. We don't have to fill out any of that. We can go ahead and skip those. We'll move on to our instances. We have a drop-down menu here, and earlier we did set up our instance of Home VPN. We can select that in the drop-down menu. Once we have that selected, we'll go ahead and put a value of 25 in the keep alive interval field. Now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and click the save button. And from here, we'll go ahead and jump to our iPhone or Android device. Go ahead and download the WireGuard VPN application. It's just named WireGuard. Should be a pretty quick process to download and install. Once you're there, open up and launch that application for us. Let's go ahead and click on the plus sign, create a new configuration. We'll give it a name, give it any name you like. I went ahead and just kept the same name we had on our instance. It is Home VPN. From here, we can go ahead and generate the key pair. Both the private and public key will be generated once you click on that generate key pair option. From there, we can go ahead and enter our client peer IP address that we use on our peer setup, which is 10.0.0.1 0.0.2/32. We can also enter the DNS server, which would be 10.0.0.1. Now that we have that information entered, we can go ahead and click on the add peer option. Once we do that, we'll go ahead and see that we have two fields to enter, both the public key and the pre-shared key. They come directly from OPNsense. We created this earlier, both in the instance and the peer sections. So the public key comes from the instance configuration that we set up, and the pre-shared key comes from the peer configuration that we had set up on our OPNsense platform. I wanted to provide a quick screenshot of our setup here. So for the endpoint, that would be the public IP address that you retrieve from your home computer. You can go ahead and type in your browser, what is my IP address? From there, you can use that IP address and enter it in the endpoint address along with colon and the listening port that we set up earlier, which was 51820. Then we'll go ahead and add the allowed IPs. We want to go ahead and make sure that it is 0.0.0.0/0.
As I mentioned before, we will need to jump back and forth between the OPNsense platform and the iPhone WireGuard app. So from here, what we'll do is copy the iPhone's public key and paste it into the peer configuration on OPNsense. This will allow the firewall to recognize and authenticate this device. Now that we have that public key entered into our peer configuration, let's make sure and go ahead and click on that save option down below. Once we hit the save, make sure to always click the apply button. It's better to hit that apply button to make sure you don't lose any of the progress already made. Now back to the iPhone WireGuard app. In order to complete this setup, we'll need two pieces of information. We'll need the instance public key from the OPNsense platform, and we'll also need the pre-shared key from the peer OPNsense platform configuration. So once we have those two pieces of information within our iPhone app, we should be all good to go to the next section and make sure we complete this VPN setup as needed. Now that we finally have both sides configured, the next big step is assigning the WireGuard interface. We'll go into our interfaces section, then click on the assignments menu option, then click on the drop down by the device field. Go ahead and give it a description that you feel comfortable with. I just named it Home VPN. You can name it whatever works for you. Once that's all said and done, you can go ahead and click on the add menu button option below, and then you'll be able to see your interface assignment above. You can go ahead and click through that option. Then you'll see the enable interface. Let's go ahead and click on enable. There isn't much that we do have to add after this. What we'll do here is make sure that we add a description to this interface, click the save, and also click on the apply changes. Now our next step is allowing WireGuard traffic into the firewall. Since our WireGuard uses UDP, I'll create a WAN rule allowing UDP traffic on our listening port, which is 51820. Now to configure this WAN rule, let's make sure that the action is set to pass. Let's go ahead and also make sure that the interface is using WAN, that we have the direction of in, that we have our TCP IP version set to IPv4. Our protocol, let's make sure we select the drop down menu option of UDP. Now for the source section of this, let's make sure to just leave it as default. We don't have to change anything there. Once we go down to our destination, we can go ahead and select the option of WAN address. Moving on to the destination port section, I did have an issue initially kind of selecting or adding the listening port that I needed to, but there is a menu option that is named other, and that allows you to enter a port of your choosing, and I just set it to both 51820 for the from and also for the to sections. Analyze the WAN firewall rule. We'll go ahead and add a description. I added a simple description of allow WireGuard VPN. Once we have that set, you can go ahead and click the save button and also click on the apply changes right after that. Next, we'll create a firewall rule on the WireGuard interface itself. This rule determines what authenticated VPN users are allowed to access after they successfully connect. For the home VPN WireGuard firewall rule, there's not much that we really need to change. We can leave a lot of the defaults since it does come already pre-filled. What we do need to change are both the source and the description fields. As you can see, a lot of the fields are already good to go. So what we'll do is go ahead and scroll down to our source field option, and from there we'll click on the drop down menu. If we scroll all the way down to around H, we should find the Home VPN WireGuard Network option. We have to make sure we select that option. Now to the other remaining field, which would be the description. You can give it a description just like I did, or you can give it your very own description, something unique, whatever works. Just make sure it's descriptive and you know what you're referencing when you do so. And then you go ahead and click on that save button all the way down at the bottom. And once you do that, make sure to always click on the apply changes option. Perfect. Now before testing, it's always worth checking outbound NAT, and I see that I am using automatic outbound NAT. OPNsense automatically creates the necessary translation rules, so there's no need to really change anything here. So let's go ahead and go into our testing section here. Now everything should be configured, so let's go ahead and verify the service is actually running in the WireGuard status section. So now we see that we do have an issue, as both the interface and the peer have differing status symbols. So we can see that the interface looks to be up and ready to go, but then the peer has a status of red. So that means there's something wrong with our peer. So what I did was I went back into the WireGuard phone application, and from there I was able to see that I configured the wrong public IP address. So what I did is I went into what is my IP address, is something that I mentioned earlier before, but I grabbed the wrong IP address and I left it as is. I grabbed the gateway. Yes, I did, unfortunately, but I was able to reconfigure that after some troubleshooting, and from we can see here, I just set it back to active and I did some testing on my own. So for my testing, what I did was I went to google.com just to prove that my VPN is active and working, and I was able to get out on the internet. What I did next was make sure that I can connect to my home network OPNsense platform. I typed in the IP address, I connected to it, I was able to sign in and everything. As you can see here, I'm able to access it while on my mobile network. So taking a quick look back to our WireGuard status, we go ahead and refresh the page, and we can see that both the interface and the peer both now have a good status, a status of green, a status of up, and it's all working as expected after updating our endpoint address. And before making any additional changes or verifying this configuration, what we'll do is go into our system, then configuration, backups, and make sure we back up our configuration just to make sure we don't lose any of these changes, or when we do make a change and something breaks, we still have a backup of everything working as expected. So then I went over into our interfaces. I was able to see that our home VPN WireGuard interface is good to go, no issues there. At this point, we successfully configured and built our very own WireGuard VPN. We confirmed we can securely manage our firewall from anywhere in the world where you do have an internet connection. And for our very last point of verification, what I'll do is I'll go into the reporting menu section, then click on traffic, and we'll go ahead and make sure that we are seeing traffic coming into our VPN, and that's working fine. We see all the data coming through. There are no issues, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions, just please feel free to comment down below. If you are running into any issues, maybe I can help you. If you do, share a comment, or if you see anything that I could improve upon, please feel free to share that too. But as always, thanks for watching and stay tuned for our next video. We finally built our very own WireGuard VPN and confirmed that we can securely connect from anywhere in the world. Yes, just using an iPhone. But for the next video, I wanted to make sure that we can set up our very own WireGuard VPN connection using a Windows laptop. That would essentially allow you to RDP into your Windows devices, your home network, SSH into Linux servers, just manage your network from anywhere in the world. Now, if that's something you're interested in, subscribe.